What a great Sunday to have our special guest, Rabbi Eric Solomon from Beth Meyer Synagogue, which is located up by Ravenscroft, for those who know the area around here. Really a good friend to be here. And when I first invited him, we were trying to first figure out a date that would work. And we said, okay, this day will work. And then I looked at the readings, I said, oh boy, the readings are kind of rough today. But I think what better day for us to bring in Rabbi Solomon to be with us here, because it is true that first reading especially is capturing those early polemics, right? That we know that Christianity came out of this movement began, these followers of Rabbi Yeshua, Jesus, began within the cradle of Judaism, and then as it expanded outward to the Gentiles, to non-Jews, that there were natural, dynamics and conflicts that took place because what Christians were preaching, proclaiming, was not consistent with Orthodox Judaism. And of course, there would be complaints, criticisms, and arguments. I laugh with people. I say, if someone came in here and started preaching the fourth person of the Trinity, I'd kick them out. Okay, right? So there's certain things within our faith traditions that we hold on to and we need to protect. But we do always need to dialogue, and for us to realize these sacred scriptures, these inspired scriptures, were written by humans within a historical context. The most important thing, God is timeless, God our Creator, God who is the father of, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, our living God, right, that we share, is amazing, and He is that one who shepherds us and guides us. So what a blessing today to be able to invite in on this Good Shepherd Sunday a great leader of our community, a man of deep faith and profound insights, somebody who has many more years of pastoral experience than I have, and so someone I can learn from in my life. So let me just read a little bit of his biography here. That Rabbi Eric Solomon of Beth Meyer Synagogue is a Phi Beta Kappa graduate of the University of Maryland. Rabbi Eric was ordained by Hebrew Union College, Jewish Institute of Religion, after 6 years of rabbinical studies in both Israel and New York City. He served as the fourth rabbinic fellow at B'nai Yeshurun in Manhattan. In 2005, Rabbi Eric was admitted to the Rabbinical Assembly and assumed the pulpit there at Beth Meyer Synagogue. So he's been the lead rabbi for 20 years here in this area. And over his tenure, Rabbi Solomon is proud to have co-founded the North Carolina Jewish Clergy Association, has served as vice chair of the mayor of Raleigh's Commission for Compassion and member of the City of Raleigh's Human Relations Commission. He's volunteered on the boards of Urban Ministries of Wake County and Uniting North Carolina, and he's traveled to Ghana and Guatemala on missions with American Jewish World Service as a Global Jewish Fellow. Today, Rabbi Eric volunteers as the founding president of the Louise and Nathan Schwartz Raleigh Eruv, serves on the North Carolina Humanities Council Board of Trustees, and is a senior rabbinic fellow with the Shalom Hartman Institute. Rabbi Eric, I am so proud and happy to call you friend and to put such a great person in front of our congregation.
Thank you for that beautiful introduction. I appreciate it. I am so honored to be here this morning. Not only, obviously, Mother's Day. Congratulations and honors and blessings to all the moms out there, both in this world and in the world to come, as we say. But also at this auspicious time, on behalf of the Jewish community and Beth Meyer Synagogue, we offer our deepest condolences on the death of the beautiful Pope Francis, and of course the election and appointment of Pope Leo XIV. I feel so honored to be able to speak from the pulpit at this particular auspicious time, and may God bless both Pope Francis's soul may be at peace, but also, please God, Pope Leo, he should be blessed by God with many years of service and joy and blessing for all Catholics throughout the world, and really through all citizens of the world. I am so honored to be here. I've been in Raleigh for 20 years, as noted by Father Samiski, Father Tom, who has become such a deep and profound friend so quickly. And I feel so close to this congregation. I've been here many times over the years for various events, and I just feel so at home in this community. Thank you for welcoming me. What I want to talk about this morning, touching on one of the popes, actually, a story touching on Mother's Day and touching on a lesson from the Torah, from the 5 books of Moses, is the importance of paying attention. How important it is in the Bible itself, the Hebrew Bible, but passed on and shared by both of us, to pay attention. And to introduce it, just a little bit of fun, okay? We have to smile a little bit in this hard world. It's been a very, very challenging year and a half for the Jewish community. Many of you know that, and we appreciate the attention you and this community have paid to us during this very, very challenging time. But I had to learn about paying attention early on in my marriage. So I've been up this August. My wife and I will be married for 27 years, thank God. And my wife, some of you know, is also a rabbi, and we share the pulpit together at Beth Meyer Synagogue in Raleigh for about 20 years. Early on, my wife understood in our first year of marriage that I appreciated sports, especially basketball. Very appropriate for the triangle, I know. And one night I came home at the end of my early first job, and I put on the TV, and I was watching my favorite NBA game. It was right there in front of me. But my wife said to me, "Eric, I need to talk to you about something very important to me." I said, "Sweetie, this is the playoff game. The game's right now. Must it be this moment?" She said, "No, really important." I said, "Okay." And she stood right in front of the TV while it was on. And I said, we're learning here. I'll let her do that. It's okay. So I'm listening, and she's explaining. It's very passionate. And while she's talking, there was an incredible dunk on just to the side. And so my eye must have wandered just a little bit to the right. That was the last time I watched a sports game with my wife at any time. She noticed I was not paying attention, and I was both in the doghouse and only watched the ESPN highlights, later that evening, okay? Because she understood and I understood that if I didn't pay attention to her, that is the greatest sin, is not to pay attention. And we know in the world today, in our society today, there's a whole economy that is trying to get our attention. Take our attention away from what really matters to temporal things, often irrelevant things, distracting things, things that don't elevate the soul. There's kind of an economic interest in taking our attention, right? But our attention is holy, and so I know many of you remember this story, but just to make sure we're all on the same page, in the earliest part of the 5 books of Moses in the Torah, one of the earliest stories focuses on paying attention. It's a story of Cain and Abel. There's Adam and Eve at the beginning. Their first kids are Cain and Abel. And what happens there? Both of them give offerings to God of gratitude. And it says in the Torah that God paid attention. The word is sha'ah, which actually in Hebrew has a certain connotation of giving time to. Gave time, attention, face time to Abel's offering. But to Cain, it kind of implies God kind of looked away. And just based on that, they started to fight. And Cain kills Abel, the first murder in the entire Hebrew Bible. And that famous line, "Am I my brother's keeper?" which we know the answer is yes, comes out of that story. And what we learn is how important it is that when someone, even the eternal parent, is perceived as not paying attention, it causes pain in the soul and pain in the heart. Now, the opposite of that, I learned from Pope Francis. I went back and Googled this story because I remember it so profoundly. It's from November 2013. I wonder if some of you remember this too. It was a Sunday like this at St. Peter's, and he had gone after his words. Maybe the term is homily. I don't remember, I don't recall. But he went in that Pope's special mobile through the St. Peter's Square, waving to everyone. Very moved. Some I know waited their entire lives just to have a few moments of the Pope's eye contact, the Pope's attention. And he saw amongst the crowd one man in a wheelchair with his legs slightly lifted, and he told his drivers and all the security to stop. And he pulled over, he went down from his car, and he approached the man in the wheelchair. And who is this man? Who is a person with neurofibromatosis. I had to look this up. For those of you, a term that's easier to know from our kind of non-medicinal, non-doctor way, is what the elephant man had. Enormous tumors, not only inside of his body, some of them cancerous, but tumors on the outside of his body. He was in incredible pain physically, apparently, because of these tumors. Obviously, his life was in jeopardy. He could barely walk. But even more painful than that was the social isolation. Because of how the tumors made him look, people shunned him in his community. I believe he was from a small town in Italy. But what did Pope Francis do? He got down, went to him, and hugged him close. The picture went all over the entire world. This was a man, a messenger of God, who knew exactly who to pay attention to. Just giving that time, that FaceTime, that love, said to this man, you are made in the divine image. God's spark is in you. And the whole world, what the Pope did so powerfully, to say, everyone, don't focus on who's the latest celebrity. Focus on the image of God, and what I believe he would say, something like the least of these, those most challenged, those most suffering. Give them your attention. That is the holiness of the Pope Francis, but also the teaching of what it means to be driven by biblical teaching that understands where you should put your attention. I've never forgotten it, and it taught me something as well. And so on this, I close on this Mother's Day. You know, Hallmark makes a living off Mother's Day. I'm sure beautiful cards, I hope. If not, they're coming. And many restaurants here in Raleigh should do well, and you should enjoy that, and moms should enjoy that too. And Mother's Day can be a challenge for those that don't have their mothers here in person. It can be a day of some sadness mixed. And some of us, sadly, maybe our mothers did not match up and give us all the attention that we might have needed or deserved, okay? It's the reality. But Mother's Day, I know the one thing that moms want more than flowers and a chance to, have a nice meal that's at a nice restaurant or a card, is they want you at that restaurant to put down your phone, tell everybody to focus, and give them your attention. There's one thing that mothers have given to us, parents, that we've been blessed. It's not things. It's they've given us their attention, that we're special, that we are loved. In fact, you could say God's attention and love comes through the mom to us. So on this Mother's Day, may we learn from the Holy One, from Pope Francis, who gave attention to a man who was suffering, from the Torah, from Cain and Abel, where when attention wasn't given, the devastation that can happen. May we all be reminded that the most important thing we can give to any human being is our love, our face, and our attention. May God bless us with strength and focus as we attend to all of God's creatures on this very special Mother's Day. We say together, Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Rabbi Solomon, Rabbi Eric, what a great pleasure to have you with us, your message. And especially for those who have spent time in synagogues, you know that you actually don't clap in a synagogue because only God is worthy of clapping, of applause. I would say here, we are clapping for how God is working through you, and that our applause is for God, present very much in your message in this community here. And I have to believe that our good and loving God is looking down right now on us, this congregation, giving us this attention and with a gaze of love for what we are doing. Thank you for being with us here today and for all of our Jewish brothers and sisters who are also enjoying this.